I want to talk about intimacy. This is an article that I saw from Psychology Today that is revolting in many ways. I want to talk about that, and I also want to talk about, we're going to do some Facebook Fauci coordination that I saw as well, and we're going to roll through those videos, which is very, very important. But keep the system in mind when we talk about everything. If they wanted to destroy you, if you wanted a weak population, what would you do? You would do this. Is sex tech the future of intimacy? Now you look at this and you're like, oh, sex robots, who cares? I'm not going to do that. No. Pay attention. It's coming. Pay attention, and it will be propped up. This will be propped up by everybody else that we're talking about here. It will become political. This whole article was political, if you would believe it. The whole article started with the repeal of Roe, and they injected politics into this. Let's take a look. So the repeal of Roe has profound, this is according to the article, the repeal of Roe has profound implications both inside and outside of some people's bedrooms. One act of intercourse may not be worth the loss of agency over one's body and one's future. Sex tech offers what human partners can't. Safe, super stimulating, and risk-free sexual experiences. So now they're coming in, because there was a lot of talk of Roe. Remember, abortion was not banned. That's a lie. They just sent it back to the states, but the media needs you to believe that it's banned, right? Because they think you're a puppet and a dummy. They think you bit, chewed, swallowed their nonsense, and they need you to believe that so that you now start to believe that sexual intimacy and intimacy of all kinds that bonds people together, that builds relationships, that builds community, that builds marriages, that builds fundamental institutions in our society that bring people together instead of tearing them apart. They need you to believe that's all broken, right? So that you get weaker, you get lonely, and now you are hanging out with some stupid sex robot or some metaverse bullshit instead of facing the real world. Okay. Let's take a look at this, though. I love the way they do this because the propaganda is right out and up front. I love it. Here's some of the lines from the article. As intimate relationships become riskier, sex tech is quickly becoming formidable competition of human sex partners. The loss of abortion rights in some states creates a massive disruption to human intimacy. Penile vaginal intercourse now has the potential to rewrite a person's entire life, eliminating a woman's agency over her body and her future. Most people would agree that one act of intercourse, no matter how thrilling, isn't worth that. So do you see what they did already? They took all the personal responsibility out of, they sucked it right out, right? As if everybody is immediately a victim of circumstance. You're not a self-empowered adult that can make a decision, A, whether to have sex with somebody or not, B, whether to use protection and take certain precautions or not, 3, whether to have those conversations about if we don't take precautions and we wind up in a situation, are we in a position to raise a child? Do I love you? Is this something serious? They've removed all that from the equation, right? They don't want you doing any of that because that would create a self-empowered, autonomous individual, and they can't have that. So now what they want to say is, oh, it's all too hard and everyone's out to get you. And they don't want you to be able to just have risky, ridiculous, one night stands with no protection and no consequence and just run to the store and get an abortion. They don't want that. So we have to come up with an alternative because this is all too scary. Crawl back into your little hole, you little weak little, and believe me, who is this marketed to? Are you listening to me? This is not marketed to women, guys. This is for you. Men, are you listening? Get in the chat. I want to see that you're here. Men, do you hear me? This stuff is marketed to you, to the young men of the world. Again, they need you weak. So now they're trying to tell you that you don't have autonomy over your relationships, that you don't have the ability to do that. It's too hard. And instead, you should lean on pornography. You should lean on, what do they call it? Sex tech. Because you are too cowardly and too weak to step into the real world, make decisions for yourself, be a responsible adult, and decide what you are comfortable with and have those conversations with a partner and be engaged in actual intimacy that will make you feel like the man that you are. No, you got to feel like a little boy trapped in a room, all perverted, looking at like pornography and, feeling like, well, I could never get a girl like that. Instead of building yourself up and walking up to somebody and making that shit happen and being responsible and having those conversations and taking personal responsibility and accountability for your actions. They cannot, I will say it again, I said it on Twitter yesterday, they cannot sink a country, they cannot sink a city without sinking the young men. You better open your eyes if they're not open already. Because all this stuff about porn and the metaverse and this sex, this is all targeted toward men They want you sitting in your room alone and lonely. And by the way, fat, yes, fat and unhappy with the way you look and not confident and all of those things and not entering into relationships and not feeling like a man so that you'll be compliant with whatever they hand you, whether it's 75 masks to go to the grocery store or 6,500 boosters because you're like, well, I'm fat, I'm not in good health. I don't know, I should just get another shot, I guess. Sad, depressed, feeling like you can't own your own life. That's all this is about. By the way, written by a female, which I thought was interesting. This is what else they say. Since most intercourse occurs between people not trying to conceive, many folks, regardless of their biological sex, will decide that sex is just not worth the risk. Again, you can't do a risk assessment. What? How infantilizing to men. You can't do a risk assessment and say to yourself, you know what? I'm not gonna be careless. It's not worth it to me. I'm not gonna be careless. I'm gonna have sex, I'm gonna take precautions, I'm gonna do this, or I'm not gonna have sex unless it's with somebody that really matters to me, because if something does happen, I'm gonna have to be prepared to face the consequences. No, you little boy, go into the room and play with your sex robot. Shh, you'll be fine. So I need you guys to hear this stuff. And this is one last paragraph I want to read from this before we move to Fauci, gnome. Enter sex tech, perfectly poised to pick up the pieces. For many people, sex tech is just what the doctor, or in this case, the judge, ordered. Regardless of your sex organ, sex tech aims to please. High-tech vibrators are available to thrill all genital shapes and sizes. That part's targeted toward women. Intense and realistic virtual reality porn, avatar sex on simulation sites, and apps supporting any sexting interests. All options are safe, risk-free, super stimulating, and now without any complications in the morning. Does this not sound like Black Mirror? Honestly, what the hell are we living anymore? Who wants to live in this world? By the way, they're talking men. Let me just tell you, too. This is targeted all toward men. And this part is even targeted toward men. I thought for a second, they're talking about vibrators is targeted toward women. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's to make you feel like women don't need you. Oh, see, women can just get a vibrator that operates at, 60 times the speed. It's very hard to compete with some of those toys. It is. It's ridiculous. It's like this piece of machinery sometimes. I remember walking into a store once and turning one on and be like, whoa, that seems like it could hurt me. I don't know if I'm going to sign up for that. They know that. They know it's not a realistic comparison, this crazy motorized whatever the hell it is. You know what it also isn't? It's not as gratifying. It's not as satisfying. It's not, because there's no connection involved. And women get gratification from connection with men. That is a deep layer of all of this. So you got a lot of women right now sitting in their rooms being told men are the problem, sitting with a vibrator, by the way, and they're not satisfied because there's no emotional connection, there's no bonding, and women benefit greatly from that and oftentimes need it to get deep satisfaction from a sexual experience. We know that. Let's be honest with ourselves. So I'm talking to you guys because the message here is, women won't need you. They'll have all these toys. They won't need you anyway. And you'd be much happier not having to worry about getting anybody pregnant. You can't do the risk assessment because you're a big baby. So don't worry about it. We'll just sit you in a room and you play with a sex doll. If you like the short clip and want to watch another short clip, click here. Or if you want to watch the full episode, click right here.